What's up everybody, it's Kevin here from Happy Beard Games, and today is a Friday, a Famicom Friday right here on my channel, Happy Beard Games. Every week on a Friday we check out a Japanese region video game for my series, Famicom Fridays. And if you're new to Happy Beard Games or Famicom Fridays, please consider subscribing. Now today's video we are talking about the topic of Japanese region GameCube games. Are they worth collecting for in the year 2024? Let's find that out and answer many more questions about the Japanese GameCube and its games in today's Happy Beard Games Famicom Friday.
Famicom Friday.
Famicom Friday.
Gamecube. 来るぞゲームラッシュゲームキューブ
The Nintendo GameCube launched first in Japan on September 14th, 2001. Shortly afterward, it launched here in the United States in November of 2001. I was always a big fan of Nintendo, and while I had the previous Super Nintendo and the Nintendo 64, closer to that time I had my attention drawn away by another console, the Sony PlayStation, and the PS2. So when I heard in Nintendo Power that Nintendo was making a disc-based game console, it really caught my attention. I already had the PS2 by the time I got the GameCube, so I was used to what this new generation could offer. Improved graphics, a new controller type plus the ability to have 4 controllers total, the potential of LAN and online gaming, and new Nintendo exclusives drew my attention the most. That and the looming inevitability of a new Zelda game. Games like Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2, Metroid Prime, and Super Mario Sunshine showcase the graphics potential of the early GameCube games. Some games like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and Phantasy Star Online from Sega utilize unique features of the GameCube like the GBA connectivity and online with the GameCube broadband adapter on Phantasy Star. And games like Super Smash Bros. And Luigi's Mansion showcase what the new controller can do. With The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, it is not what anyone expected, but its visual style was a game changer, and it made waiting for the next Zelda even harder for some. You can tell I really do have a lot of love for the GameCube console and its games still. From its unique shape to its unique features and a great place for local multiplayer, the GameCube is a great choice. But what about today, the year 2024, and more specifically, what about import games and consoles from Japan? Is it a good way to save on money to buy Japanese GameCube games like the Famicom and Super Famicom are? Is it easy to understand? Is it compatible with anything I already own? And is the Japanese GameCube worth collecting for in 2024? In today's video, I will answer these questions and more, and show you some of the highlights to collecting and playing on a Japanese GameCube today. Here's a more specific backstory to my Japanese GameCube collection. I bought a Japanese GameCube around a year ago. I started collecting games for it last fall. I currently have 11 games for it. Some of the games are complete in box, but all of them have the plastic case from Japan, just some with missing parts. In Japan, they have a much different GameCube box and case design from the North American GameCube games. The North American GameCube games have a case similar to a DVD case, but with a smaller holder for the smaller size discs of the GameCube. In Japan, they have a very different design with a clear case, a smaller case size as well, which holds the memory card and the GameCube disc, as well as the manual and any other inserts. But above that, there is a cardboard sleeve that slides into the top, showcasing the artwork and the back screens of the GameCube game. Additionally, on one side of most of the games, it's in English, and the other side, it's in Japanese. The games in my collection range from roughly $3 to $30, each with many of them being closer to $15 to $20 in US money. For a long while, I have been collecting Japanese games and consoles. but not till more recently did I see a good reason to buy Japanese GameCube stuff. The continual increase in North American GameCube games prices and rarities is one big factor for buying Japanese games instead. But one reason that is more important to me specifically is to play Japanese exclusive games, as well as games with Japanese exclusive features such as the 3 Donkey Konga games. The Donkey Konga Bongo Rhythm games have a 3rd Japan-only sequel, as well as all the games having different music for each of the 3 regions, North America, Japan, as well as PAL. If you like anime theme songs, these have songs from Gundam Seed, Shin-Chan, Bobobo, and Naruto to name a few. So while yes, you will be paying less per game in most all cases compared to the US or North American copies, the real draw here is getting games you can't find in the US. And if you like Naruto, there are plenty of great Naruto series fighting games on the Japanese GameCube, 2 of which are not available on the North American GameCube, as well as the awesome game Battle Stadium DON, which is a Smash Bros. Style fighting game featuring Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Naruto characters. As you might expect, there are a few more anime-based games that were exclusive to Japan, like this one, Mobile Suit Gundam: The Ace Pilot, which is a very fun 3D Gundam game for the GameCube, as well as Captain Tsubasa, a fun Japanese soccer/football team game, which features RPG or strategy elements and a soccer sport setting. Another big factor that I didn't have to deal with personally, but you might, is do you already have GameCube accessories and controllers? They will all work on a Japanese GameCube, so if you have those already, there's no need to buy more. I still enjoy collecting for this console, and I still enjoy finding new GameCube stuff. Let's jump into answering some questions. First up, physical versus digital emulation. Alright, let's get real. Emulation for GameCube exists. Why would I pay money for games I can either rip or download to use on a PC emulator? Well, it does boil down to personal preferences. Some people think emulation is wrong and some people love it. It also comes down to things like, do you prefer to play on the actual thing or on a computer? It also boils down to, do you have the money to spend on it? If you do have the money and the know-how to keep up with maintenance on an aging console, plus if you have GameCube stuff already, I would definitely go with the real thing. One of the best things to consider when considering emulation versus the original is value. GameCube digital ROM type files don't or shouldn't have monetary value. Actual GameCube games, controllers, accessories, and consoles of any region can be resold today for the same price you buy them at now, especially if you keep them in a good condition. So I would say that is a good reason to go with the real deal. For me, if I just wanted to play one game, I'd emulate, but if I want to check out what the whole system has in store and collect more games for it, the real deal is for me. The next one is saving money. We now know that GameCube games usually hold the most value when compared to PS2 and the original Xbox, especially on multi-platform games, as well as the main first-party Nintendo-made titles. For example, games on the GameCube are usually a higher price than PlayStation 2 or Xbox versions. But does buying the Japanese version really save you on money? You can take my word for it, it's been significantly less expensive so far in my collecting. For a few examples, and keep in mind I sometimes ask for lower offers, and it's not always the same pricing as they are used and values will change over time. A recent purchase of mine on Mercari was I bundled 2 games, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat and Phantasy Star Online, and got them for $30 together total. Another bundle I did recently was a $40 bundle of Donkey Konga 2 and Soul Calibur 2. For individual games, I got Zelda Wind Waker for around $20. Also keep in mind many of these are complete in box and not disc onlys. But what about for Japan exclusives? I bought this Gundam game for around $20 as well. $15 to $20 is the usual price for a single current Japanese video game on the GameCube. If you are familiar with Japanese games and their values, I would compare it this way. Famicom is probably the cheapest overall, then Super Famicom, then either Japanese N64 or the Japanese Gamecube. But things like Sega Saturn and some Japanese Dreamcast games, two other consoles I collect for in both regions, usually cost more than any of those on an average. So yes, I do believe you will save money buying games this way, as North American English copies can sometimes be close to or exceed their original prices, which are around $50 for a new game here back in 2001. As you may have seen in my previous Famicom Friday series videos, I do a lot of simple translating, either using a book, an image with Google Auto Translate app, or a fan-made translation patch or a read-along guide. With the GameCube, you'll probably need to use Google's Camera Translate to help you through the GameCube's home menu, which is found by starting it up with the disc tray up or holding A during the GameCube logo. Anytime there is a still lasting text on the screen, you can easily translate it this way by taking a picture of it and using Google Auto Translate. If it's a scrolling text or subtitles, it will be much harder to do, as with spoken audio. I don't know of any way to load a translation patch on a GameCube game currently on the console. Thankfully, some games are either so simple that you don't need to translate, or they'll have an English option. Sometimes the English setting is hidden in the options menu, as the game will be set to Japanese by default. And this is the case with Sega's Phantasy Star Online 1 and 2. You have the game in Japanese, but you can go to the options menu and easily find the language setting, set it to English, and it's almost the same as the North American US version. Games like Soul Calibur 2 will have minimal or mixed Japanese and English text and languages. A few games I have tried so far that are very much playable in both languages include Naruto 1 through 4, Battle Stadium DON, Super Smash Bros. Melee, Phantasy Star Online, Donkey Konga 1 through 3, and Soul Calibur 2. As you can imagine, any game that is an RPG will be harder to get through than an arcade game. And what about compatibility? All of your existing GameCube controllers, accessories, memory cards, video, and power cables will all work on a Japanese GameCube. As far as I've seen, there's nothing that won't work that works on a North American one that won't work on a Japanese one. For example, HDMI cables or component cables that are more recently released also work. The Nintendo GameCube's Game Boy player works in both regions. And funny enough, the GameCube's Game Boy player comes in a small case, the same type of case that Japanese GameCube games come in. One thing to note is that the memory cards, while they are region free, they will need to be reformatted to a new region, which means losing all your save data and erasing everything on it. You can do this from the GameCube's home menu when you insert the new memory card. Alright, we're reaching the end of today's video, so we're going to wrap things up by bringing everything together in this video. All the questions that we tried to answer and go through throughout the video will kind of come together into the final answer for is it worth collecting for the Japanese GameCube in 2024 or the near future as well. So is it a good way to save money by buying Japanese region import games? I would say definitely yes. Everything costs a little bit less in the Japan version of the game than it does in the North American version of the game. Additionally, it might be harder to find some of these games in stock if you're buying them in the United States. For example, like me on Mercari, they're not always in stock, the ones that you want to get. So that can make it a little troublesome. While they are cheaper, less expensive, and they might actually come in better condition, because all the ones I have came in carts. I haven't found a really loose one so far, a loose just disc only. But at the same time, I haven't found the ones that I really want available for sale yet, including Mario Kart Double Dash, Resident Evil 4, and some other games I'm still looking for on Mercari and other websites for Japanese region GameCube games. So yes, I'll be saving money, but don't expect people to have a full catalog of things to buy right away at all times. The second question was, is it easy to understand? This mainly pertains to, do you understand Japanese, and how hard is the language barriers? In some cases, the cultural barrier, because there's some things that might make sense in Japan, but might not make sense to an American culture. So I would say it's not easy to understand. It's easy in some cases, but only with prior knowledge and experience and the tools to use it. But it's not the best way to play. You want to play it in the language that you speak and read. And Japanese is a language that I pick more than other languages because these games are mainly originally from Japan. Nintendo is a Japanese company. The games like Sega and all that, Namco, they're all from Japan. And a lot of video game stuff originated in Japan. So with the question, is it easy to understand? No, it's not. It's very difficult to understand Japanese as an English-speaking person, which is why many people don't choose to import because they simply cannot read the language. In the terms of the GameCube, it's not just about reading the language, but hearing the language, because a lot of these games have voice acting in them as well. And that all brings us to our final point, which is the Japanese GameCube worth collecting for in 2024? And I would say yes, but only if you're sort of familiar with Japanese culture and language, then yes. If not, I might say no. Unless there is a specific game that you know you can play and you really want to play for an inexpensive price, yes and no. It's yes if you're okay with reading Japanese, seeing Japanese text on screen, and hearing Japanese voices, and so on. And finding a way on your own to be able to go through and navigate through the video game and complete the game in that way, with the additional help of Japanese guidebooks, translation, and so on. So if all that's okay with you, then yes. And if there's a game that's really like Super Smash Brothers or like a Street Fighter type thing that doesn't need any introduction, you can just pick up and play type of game, arcadey games. If you want to play those type of games only, that's also a yes. But if you want to play RPGs, you want to play Fire Emblem, you want to play Baten Kaitos, or any of the games that use a lot of text, like Eternal Darkness maybe, those are going to be much harder to play in this language. There are a few exceptions. Some games, such as Phantasy Star Online that I showed in this video, have an English setting built into the Japanese game, which is really nice. But not every game has that, of course. Some games, like Soul Calibur 2, as we showed in the video, have a mixed languages in it. So they have English and Japanese at the same time. But what if you just want to buy the games and not play them? Is that worth collecting for? I would say yes to a small extent. They are cool to have the actual GameCube cases and maybe just like have one in your collection. Be like, hey, this is what it's like in Japan. This is the original version of this game. So that'd be kind of cool to have, like if you're collecting North American and United States GameCube games, and then you had one of the Japanese games in your collection just to kind of be like, hey, this is what it's like in Japan, the original version. But I wouldn't recommend collecting too much for it. I have a collection of GameCube games and Japanese GameCube games as well, separately in my game collection. And I'm still collecting for the North American region GameCube as well. It's just some games I like to try out on the Japanese versions for Japanese region exclusive differences, as well as those Japanese exclusive video games such as Gundam. It's for a specific group of people that would like to collect for Japanese region GameCube, myself included. I think it's cool, I think it's fun. I'm still going to collect for it, and I still have fun finding things about the GameCube in general, and it's always fun to talk about. So, yes, but mainly no. Alright, it's time for our Japanese phrase of the week, which today is a word of the week. So our Japanese word of the week is the word for cube. How to say cube in Japanese. Now I'm not sure if this is actually how you'd say it if you were saying the title of the game console, Nintendo Gamecube, in Japanese. I don't think so. But for the Japanese word of cube, it is ripotai, or ripotai. So ripotai is the Japanese word for cube, and that makes it our Japanese word of the week, our Japanese phrase of the week, for today's Famicom Friday. Ripotai is cube in Japanese. Alright everybody, that's it for today's Happy Beard Games Famicom Friday. Thanks for watching. Please be sure to leave it a like, share it with your friends, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and subscribe today for more classic gaming goodness right here on Happy Beard Games. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. Bye!